Welcome to the Manager Lab, where we delve into the increasingly dynamic world of talent management. In each episode, we will unravel key insights, break down the most relevant books and articles, and provide actionable tips to optimize your approach in developing and retaining top talent. Stay tuned for a deep dive into the art, science, and strategy of unlocking your team's full potential. Let's enter the Manager Lab. Well, Happy New Year, everyone. As leaders step into any new year, there's often a quiet tension beneath the optimism. We want to perform, we want to make an impact, and we also want to feel fulfilled, not just productive or exhausted. And a recent Harvard Business Review article entitled, "Leaders Bring Your Best Self into the New Year," challenges a common assumption in leadership. And that is that improvement comes mainly from doing more or optimizing harder or pushing through discomfort. Instead, the research points us inward and outward at the same time. The article outlines 4 science-backed practices that help leaders do a couple of different things. 1, increase their impact, adapt more effectively to change, and experience greater meaning in their work. And so let's break them down now. Practice number 1, know your ideal or your aspirational self. So the first practice isn't about goals or performance metrics, it's about identity. Research shows that leaders are more resilient and effective when they have a clear sense of their aspirational self, defined as who they want to be at their very best. This isn't a personality trait, it's really more of a guiding image of who we see ourselves as. When leaders are anchored in an aspirational self, they make better decisions under pressure. They're less reactive, and they recover more quickly from setbacks. So instead of asking, what do I need to achieve? They ask, who do I want to be when it's hardest to lead well? So a practical takeaway here from the article is to define three to 5 qualities that describe you at your very best as a leader, especially in moments of stress. So for example, you find that you're very calm under pressure, or that instead of being defensive or getting defensive, you stay curious in those conflict moments. You are decisive but humane in your decision making. So this aspirational self then becomes the North Star when complexity arises. And so you can always compare yourself in the moment to your North Star aspirational self. So that's number 1. Number 2 is to change the system, not just yourself. So, and this is kind of where this is the outward focus here. Many leaders try to improve by working harder or becoming more efficient, but the science is clear that behavior is shaped far more by systems than by willpower. The article emphasizes that meaningful leadership impact comes from changing the environment that people work in. So where do they have decisional rights? Where can they, kind of own their own decisions? What are the incentives that are built into the system? What are the norms in the environment, like how we run meetings or how we show up at our one-on-ones? What are the norms there? And how does information flow? So instead of asking, how can I personally do better, high-impact leaders ask, what is the system? What in this system makes it hard for people to succeed? And then they change the system to make it easier for people to succeed. This shift reduces burnout and increases collective performance. So the practical takeaway here is to look for one recurring frustration on your team and ask, what system is reinforcing this, and what small structural change would remove any friction there? Fulfillment increases when leaders stop carrying everything themselves and start enabling others to act, and how they act in those systems make all the difference. Practice number 3. Stay in learning mode more than performance mode. So the third practice is rooted in mindset science. Leaders often feel pressure to appear confident, capable, and certain, especially in times of change. But research shows that leaders who stay in learning mode, meaning they adapt faster, they make better decisions, and they can build greater trust. And what learning mode sounds like is, well, what am I missing here? I don't have all the answers. What am I missing? What can this teach us? Whether it's a good outcome or a poor outcome, what can this teach us? And who has insight here that I don't? So it's really being very vulnerable with your team, saying, I don't have all the answers. I need others to help me with this issue or with this problem. Performance mode, by contrast, focuses on protecting your image. So the practical takeaway here is to normalize learning, and especially your own learning, by saying, I don't have this fully figured out yet. I need help here. Or here's what I'm learning as we go. Leaders who model learning make growth safe for everyone else, improve psychological safety, so on and so forth. Really strong trust-building principle here. And then the final practice is resist your natural aversion to change. Finally, the article addresses something deeply human. Our instinct is to avoid change, even when we know it's necessary. Neuroscience shows that uncertainty triggers threat responses in the brain. So leaders often default to their old familiar routines or success patterns or very incremental tweaks in their routines or systems. But growth, both personal and organizational growth, requires leaning into discomfort very intentionally. The most fulfilled leaders aren't those who avoid change, but those who acknowledge discomfort, name it, and move forward anyway. The practical takeaway here is to ask yourself, what am I holding on to because it's familiar, not because it's effective? Or where might growth require me to let go of something? Courage, the research suggests, is not the absence of fear. It's action aligned with purpose despite the fear. So as you enter the new year, here's the big idea to remember. Bringing your best self to leadership is not about perfection. It's about alignment. It's about learning. It's about intentional change. And you do this when you anchor yourself in your aspirational self. You improve systems, not just your effort. You stay in learning mode, and you face change with intention. You don't just become more effective, you become more fulfilled. And that's leadership that sustains, not just succeeds. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I wish you nothing but success in 2026. And until next time we meet in the Manager Lab, do good work.